Hey everybody, like these funky tunes, I'm turning them off. Hope you guys are doing good. Wasn't quite sure if I was going to do a stream today, but I decided, yes, we're going to do one. Because I want to talk about Clarisse and some of the cool stuff that you can do in Clarisse. So we'll be talking about what Clarisse is, and then I'm going to just be playing around in it. So this isn't going to be like a tutorial. It'll be kind of just me. These live streams are more so just me showing you guys cool things about different render engines, softwares, all that good stuff. Yeah, so it should be really fun. Clarisse Is, I'll explain in just a second. But if you are new to the channel or to Vfx Central stuff in general, I create tutorials, assets, all these fun things for visual effects artists, and hopefully this is a nice hub for you guys to learn something or just to be up to date on cool things regarding visual effects, mostly programs and other fun things like that. But if you want to be a VFX artist or get into visual effects, I do have a course that you can check out and sign up for if you go to www.vfxcrashcourse.com. So you can go here and you can start learning the visual effects process. It can be kind of confusing. So I have this course built with tons of footage, and you can get discounts on software and other fun things. But it's this huge course and teaches you how to create a cinematic visual effects shot from beginning to end. So if you're interested in that, go check out vfxcrashcourse.com. If you want some VFX stock effects, you can head over to vfxcentral.net, which a lot of you do know about this, where we have a bunch of cool stock visual effects that you guys can use in your videos, explosions, all that fun stuff. And if you sign up, you can get some free ones. Sign up on our email list. So go check that out. Definitely a handy thing to have. If you're just joining, love to hear who's here, where you're watching from, and all that great stuff. It's always fun for me to see who we have in the chats. So feel free to drop in and say hello. I do need to share this on, we're going to go back to here. I do need to share some of the streaming goodness on all the socials really quick, so please be patient. While we're getting settled in, you guys can let me know how you're doing, what's new, and if any of you have used Clarisse. I'm very curious as to know if there's anyone out there that has used Clarisse. Also, feel free to, would love it if you guys would share the streams on all of your socials. That'd be really awesome. So please go ahead, feel free to share our live stream. That'd be awesome. Yeah. You can follow us on, or follow me on just anything that's VFX Central as well. So there you go. All right, guys, so we're going to talk about Clarisse and what Clarisse is, because this is something that a coworker showed me a while ago, and to take out my headphones, I kind of, when I first learned about Clarisse, I kind of wrote it off. I was like, I don't really know what that is, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but I think now that time has passed, and I understand it a lot more. Carlo on YouTube says, hey, love the streams, but it's 2-3 a.m. in, yeah, United Kingdom. Yeah, maybe I'm going to have to change up the times. Wednesday for me at this time has been easiest. But if most of you can't make it at this time, that really sucks. So, yeah, maybe we'll have to change it up. Let me know when works for you guys. When's the best time? If I have to do these earlier in the morning, if most of my audience is Europe area, then so be it. So, yeah. Anyway, Clarisse, what it is, and let me pull up their website. I've just been getting into Clarisse, so I'm very new at it, but I purchased it, and because I was so blown away at what you can do with it. What's up, Chris? We got Chris on Twitch. We got Eduardo. How's it going? Welcome to the stream, guys. So let me show you what Clarisse is and talk a little bit about it so you guys have a little bit of knowledge of what this program is. So you can go to their website, Isotropics, and you can check out, you know, more in depth, but I'm just going to kind of give you guys a summary of what that is. Really quick, I need to copy this other video. Yeah, so would love it if, you know, you guys, again, shared the streams. It helps me out. But Clarisse, what it is it says right here, it's a look dev and lighting and rendering. So I know I've been talking to a lot of guys that work using Clarisse, and they use it a ton at ILM. They use it at Double Negative. Lots of really big studios use it. And what it is for, the purpose of it, is basically you take all of your assets. So you're in Cinema 4D, you're in Maya, you're in Houdini, you're in all these 3D programs, and you take those massive assets and you throw them all on Clarisse. So it's a scene assembly. So you can just bring in, and this is what I'm about to say is why this program is so amazing. You can have billions and billions and billions of polygons and volumetrics. Like, it's insane. I'll open up a scene and we'll talk about it, but I started creating a scene already, just had like 10, I think I have a scene that has like 10 billion and it runs fine. You can just move around the scene. You can position things where you want, scatter them. I don't even know how many times. So it's for massive scenes. Like, they use it in Blade Runner for the big cities. They use it in Star Wars, lots of big stuff. Maybe we'll play a little bit of this video. And these are guys just talking about it in the industry. Let's see if we can find a good clip. Yeah, so like these CG environments, like in Star Wars and stuff, it's just used on so many big projects. Another reason why I like it is it kind of makes me a little bit more of a lazy artist, because sometimes we're doing things in 3D Coat or sculpting programs, and I sometimes don't like to retopologize stuff. I mean, you can do it pretty quick, but sometimes I like having the high polys, but you can't really use them in a normal 3D package. I can import huge models with like millions of polygons into Clarisse and clone that object, scatter it, and be able to look and view it just fine. So just some crazy, crazy, crazy things. What's up, Chris on Lopez, Cristobal? How's it going? Yeah, if you're just joining, we're talking about Clarisse, and what this program is. It is a rendering software. So it's a CPU render, but they are coming out with a GPU preview window on one of their new versions. Which reminds me, guys, if you're interested, we did start a Discord. Let me see if I can. I started a VFX Discord. So if you go to go to our Facebook, VFX Central, you can see the link and join Discord, where you can just kind of chat with one another. But there's also a bunch of other Discord channels as well for like other things. And I'm on this one for Clarisse. So I'm going to actually send I'm going to share this live stream with them really quick. Let's see. Boom. Yeah, guys. So Clarisse is pretty amazing. And once we're going to open it up, because I purchased a license of it and having so much fun and learning a ton from it. But it's really meant for massive environments. All of your assets are going to go in there. So it's nice because it doesn't take away anything from... it doesn't take away from you knowing Cinema 4D, you knowing Maya, Houdini. It's taking all of those things and putting it in one place to be able to be rendered. Massive scenes. So maybe we just jump in and I start showing you guys a little bit of what you can do. Now, it is a CPU based. So that's like Arnold. I mean, Arnold sort of switched to GPUs. But yeah, Arnold V-Ray, all those usually are CPU based. So it's going to use a little bit different computing power. And I hope my computer can handle this while we are going over it. So let me just boot up Clarisse and we'll see if we can open a project. And hopefully it doesn't give us any fuss. Actually, maybe I'll open up the rendered little shot I did. Carlo bot. So does it render to? Yes, it is a render. It's how about a render redshift workflow? Yeah, this is different than redshift. This is its own render engine. So yeah, this is completely different. So let me see if I can boot up this project, and I'm gonna go. And we'll talk a little bit about this interface as well, and how it's a little bit different. And I'll move my face out of the way in just a second. Again, hopefully this thing doesn't have an issue with me moving around. So this scene, yeah, it may take a little bit longer because it uses CPU, and because I have live streams going. So this is Clarisse, and this is the 3D window. And let me get out of this camera view and zoom out. So you can see, so these are a bunch of polygons, mega scans that we have in the scene. And right now we are looking at 13.9 million, which isn't that many for Clarisse to handle. So that's not even too bad. So just for demonstration purposes, I want to show you guys what you can do. So you can import some really nice geo and just clone the crap out of it. So we're gonna open a whole new scene and show you guys what that's about. So let's start from the beginning. I do have this nice little bridge, so I can import a bunch of Megascan stuff, and that was created by some guys, some really helpful guys on the, I can't remember his name, but he helped me out on the Discord. Let me see if I can, I can't remember his name. Anyway, but he helped us out. He created this really cool plugin. So I will show you guys what that does as well. So let's find, I'm going to see if I can import a high poly in here and just clone it. So the way this thing works, and again, it's you don't model in here. This isn't modeling. You can, I think you can animate in here as well. I haven't played around with that very much, but this isn't for modeling. It's bringing everything in and rendering it, lighting it and rendering it. So it looks at everything as a proxy. So it's interesting. So you come in here and you say, okay, I want to import a poly file, and let me move my face so you guys can see this a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, there's poly file, and then what you got to do is you got to go down to the path, of course, and I'm going to try to navigate to a sculpt or something like that. I know I have a sculpt, some 3D coat stuff, and let's see if I can find that. Nothing in there. Let's go into our crash course and see if we can bring in one of those high poly. Oh, drop ship. Okay, so I think that's actually a low poly. Let's see if we can go. I know there's a higher poly. Let's go in here. Sculpting environment. That one's a little bit bigger. Let's see how big this is. So down here in the bottom right, you can see it's importing this file, and there we go. So this has this file looks like it's super high resolution. Like I think I just exported this raw out of just out of 3D Coat, and so that's why it's so massive. But yeah, so this alone has 3.1 million polygons. So this is what I want to show you guys is we can clone this thing like crazy. So let's just create like a scatter. So if you guys are using Cinema 4D like Octane, like you do scattering, exact same thing. So you come in here and you can do these like point arrays. So we'll just use a point array, and we have to, say how big we want this thing. So, and the count. So let's say 200 by, let's just do one on the Y, and then by 200. And then we're going to make this go 5. Actually, let's go 1.5. Oh, we got to go way bigger than that, I guess. And if you hold, let me start from here. If you hold Control and drag, it'll do it So there we go. Okay, so there's a lot of points. We have 200 points, and we want to scatter onto this thing. So we have these points, and we have this file, and now we need what's called a scatter. So we say, okay, scatter. And in the scatter, we just need to specify what we're going to use. So let's just go into the scattering, and first thing it needs to know what it's scattering onto. So you can also have geometry and other things like that, but we're going to click right here on this point array. So we want to use the point array, and we now need to add some geometry. So here's that geo, and boom, now we have a massive amount of polygons. We're at 125 billion polygons. And that's that that little ship. Right now it says a little too tight, so we can just start, maybe make this thing a little bit bigger. So I'm going to expand this so the points are a little bit more separated. And we're going to zoom out. The other thing I'm going to do is maybe scale down just the overall size. So each of those little things in here are that little spaceship-y thing. So yeah, we are at 125 billion polygons, and this thing is not having a problem. And the cool thing in the scatter as well is we can start messing with some of the parameters in here. So let's add some variance in here. So we can add some variance in the position. So I can just control drag, and this is going to give us some variance overall in here. Oh wait, position variance, wrong one. Still getting used to some of this stuff. It's right here, position variance. There we go. So now you can start seeing we're breaking this thing up. We're moving it around. We're starting to get some variance in the X, Y, Z, and you can crank that up, and that's going to give you a little bit more variance in there. So okay. We can also do some variance in the rotation. So let's add some variance in there. So we just crank this thing. Now these things are rotated in different ways. And let's just zoom in here to show you guys what's going on. So there's all of these things in here. And I think we go 360. Oh, that's that's the step. Again, I put it in the wrong place. My bad. 360, 360, 360. Okay. Boom. So look how many, we have this like graveyard of these things in here. And it's no problem for this thing. It's just running fine. So this is how you get those huge scenes. And again, this is a super high poly object. And I'm able to move around in here like no issue. Pretty incredible stuff. Again, you can also scatter the scale variance. So we can just add a little bit of scale variance in here. So this would be really good for like, you know, mountains or rocks or anything like that. So now you're getting some of these smaller guys in here. And like there's a smaller one. But yeah, we zoom out and wow, that's a ton of high poly randomness in there. So yeah, again, 125 billion. And now let's start adding in some other things in here. There's other things you can do in scatter. I know you can do like material variances or things like that. I haven't gotten that deep into it, but I'm going to just show you guys what I know for now. So right now we're looking at this in this simple shaded, and you can also look at the wireframe simple shaded mode. There's also previs. So this is good when you're starting to texture and do fun things like that. Then there's also progressive rendering mode. So right now we don't have any lights, so it's not going to show us anything. But we can add some lights in here really quickly. So let's do that. So we can go over to this lighting, and we can add, of course, an HDRI in here. So let me just navigate to one really quick. So here we go. And by default, the HDR is going to be invisible, so you'd have to tick that on. and you need to be in progressive rendering mode. Now we can look in the bottom right corner and it's loading this thing in here. So just the initial loading, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but there we go. So now we have this scene. And again, this is preview mode. So we're looking at this in preview mode. We're looking at 125 billion primitives, you know, in there, and just a ton of stuff is going on. And we'll even show you some volumetric stuff, which is incredible as well. So there's one more thing I may want to do is scatter the position, and you'll see over time this starts looking a little bit nicer in this window. And if you turn this up, it's going to start doing more iterations. And again, this is not the render view window. This is us just working. So this is just the window we're working in. And again, I'm going to zoom in just for some of you that are joining to show you how cool this is. So Kevin's wondering if this is GPU or CPU intensive. This is CPU. They have a new version coming out that is going to have a GPU preview window coming out soon. So that way, if you have a really nice GPU card, you'll be able to preview this stuff incredibly fast. So that is something to look forward to. And let me know if I'm cutting out or anything, because this is using a lot of my CPUs. So sometimes my computer may freeze up, and hopefully you don't lose a stream in the process. Anyway, so that's how you can iterate some of that stuff quickly. And I wanted to, again, add some variance on the, what is it, position, the Y, because I wanted to have some of these going up a little bit higher. We're just going to scatter these up a bit more. So look at this position variance. So now you're seeing some of those stick up a little bit higher. And if we zoom out, crazy. All right, I'm going to zoom back in. And it looks a little crazy when you're moving around, but you kind of get used to that iteration, you know, that look. But you can go again to previs mode, which is even quicker, or you can go to smooth, which is even faster, like that. And this is how you want to set up. Dana Moore is joining us. He said, fallen in love with it, man. Yeah, I know, Dane. Clarisse is awesome. So now it's another fun tool. So something else cool that I really like about the scattering stuff in here is the decimation stuff. So you can turn on collision mode. So use bounding boxes. So what this is going to do is, so that these things don't intersect with one another, you can it'll basically decimate or delete any of these that are intersecting with one another that easily. So sometimes you don't want polygons intersecting. This is a great way to do it, and you can mess with the bounding box or the size of where they will collide. So that's really, really helpful as well when you're doing this kind of stuff. Right now we're in random mode, but you also can do Illuminance, and you can base the scattering on a texture. So you could add a texture in here, fractal noise or something, and that is how this will populate. Again, you can scatter all this stuff onto objects as well, and we'll show you that in a little bit. Excuse me. So the other thing I want to show you guys is I think some you guys want to see some volume stuff, because volumes are really fun in here as well. So I'm going to bring in a VDB, and we're going to clone this thing out there as well. So again, you just go over here, Geometry, and you go to File, and we just need to choose the path. So it's going to ask us right here, Geometry File, and we're just going to click right there, and let's navigate to, I know I have some VDBs in here somewhere. Oh, maybe in my Houdini folder. Let's go in there. Smoke. Nope. Cache. Volume. There we go. Here's something we can use, and we'll just take one of these. It also can import VDB sequences, but we're just going to do that. All right. This is the other cool thing you can do. So right now you're probably wondering, where in the heck is this thing? And this is where you start using what's called context. So right now all this is one project, but you want to start organizing your project in contexts. And these are folders. And when you notice when I created that, everything disappeared. Well, that's because at the top right, we're in this viewing mode called context. So there's object mode, and object mode is if I click on an object, it's going to just select one object. So this is really helpful. And there's our VDB. This is just super helpful when you're trying to look at maybe one object at a time. So we can go to context, and you usually want to make sure you're naming, organizing your stuff. So I'm going to call this assets, and this is where we're going to put all of our like geo and materials and all that fun stuff. I'm going to put the little spaceship thing in there as well. So now when I click on this context, it's going to have, we're looking at the file, the VDB file. So this is our smoke. I'm just going to name this for you. And this is our model. And I believe we can hit F. There we go. And I'll bring us full frame. So I can hit F, and there's our volume. So there's our volume right there. Just by hitting F, brought us all the way up close and personal with this thing. And let's, we can even look at it while it's rendering. So right now it doesn't have any lights because our lights are in this previous context. But if I go in here, now we can see the lights are affecting our volume. This volume is clipping the bounding box, so I think I'm going to find an earlier version. There we go. But yeah, now we can see that, okay, the lights are affecting this volume right there. You can do some other cool things to be able to preview this being lit, but for now, I think I'm going to create an instance of this light. So you can go make an instance, and I'm going to bring this this instance into the assets. So now I can see how my lighting is going to look in here. And I believe if I change the lighting in here, so the exposure, if I turn up my exposure, my HDR on this volume, just zoom in on this volume really quick. When I turn the HDRI light up in here, it should also change the one back in our project. So that's kind of helpful because they're the same. It's just an instance of it. And I would turn this one off later. So the cool thing is we haven't even put in material on this thing, and it's already, you know, looking decent. And this is not in our render view. This is, again, this is just in our preview mode, you know, looking around like that. But the cool thing is volumes, when they come in, they have this density slider, so we can slide the density down right here on the density multiplier. And then we also can add a material. So I'm going to right click, and you have your materials, and go down to volume. We can simply just drag it, drop it on top of that, and now we can see we have this volume shader. And the other cool thing about Clarisse is it has a really, really nice node graph editor, which is super fun to use, and you have tons of control. Or you can just go over here in the sidebar and mess with the sliders in here. And there's so many different things I want to talk about, but I'll just keep going because there's just so much to this thing. So I'm going to turn my density back up to default. We're going to go back to 1. And then on my volume, let's we could turn our density up in here. And, you know, you could add a tint, forward scattering. Let me turn the our environment light down. This is just a little too bright. And I maybe want to add like a sunlight in here just to see how the sun would work. So you just click right here, add a sunlight. And there's a light force right there. And let's just position this thing. I'm going to turn up the exposure so you guys can see it. So there you go. And let's turn up the density even more just to exaggerate this thing. There's some cool things you can do with like forward scattering, which is if I turn down this way, you'll see it gets more solid. But if I scale it this way, or it gets more solid in the center, and then the edges are lit up, which is a nice way to kind of use materials on this thing. Again, sorry if my computer keeps kind of slowing down when I'm doing this thing. There's just a lot going on. So we could also go look at this in previs mode, and here's what it looks like in smooth shading. So you kind of see it as like a blob, and that's also kind of helpful. Now let's see if we can scatter this guy as much, and it's really small, so I may scale this up to be about the same size. So we're gonna go in here. I'm gonna just, and it looks like it wasn't, when I exported this VDB, it wasn't quite this. It looks like this center axis is off. So it's gonna, I'll have to keep that in mind. That means when I exported the VDB out, it wasn't centered. So make sure when you're creating assets, they're zeroed out. Yeah, so now let's use that same, let's go back into here, and let's use the same point array, but let's make a different scatter. So let's just right click. We're gonna go to scatter, and same thing as we did before. Go over into here, the point array, and we need to choose the geometry. So we're gonna go into the asset, and there's that smoke. So now you can see we have a bunch of these little clouds in there, and these will render just fine if I go into our progressive rendering mode. You'll see all of that rendering. I'm gonna delete that because I think it could be doubling up in so you can see these little clouds down here. It's a bunch of those little clouds rendering just fine. And hopefully, oh, did it freeze? Let me know if I freeze, guys, when I'm streaming, because my computer keeps freezing because it's using CPUs. Okay. Again, it may slow my computer down, and I apologize for that. So let's go back into smooth shading, and maybe let's also go into the object mode, and I'm going to click just on the scatter, so we're not looking at anything else. So again, this is why I really like this thing, is you can just look at individual objects incredibly fast. So super helpful. All right, let's add some variance in this scatter, because that doesn't look natural at all. Again, you want to do the scatter position variance, so you'd want to just drag this up to a huge number so that things are kind of spreading out and clumping in unique ways. And then we also want to scatter the rotation. The bottom of this is flat, so I don't know if I do want to scatter it that way, but I definitely want to do a 360 so that it spins in the y-axis. And then let's also scatter the scale. So I'm going to just drag this up. Oh boy, that got huge. Let's go back down. Maybe we went a little too crazy. And I'm going to zoom out just to see what's happening. So this is a massive skyscape now. Let's see if this thing will... so again, it's not going to show us this unless we are in the correct context. So now we have, let's see, what are we at? This one says 38 billion, but I think we have more than that. So now we have clouds, and we have these little spaceship-y things, and this would take a little bit to render. And you can also turn off the points, those little blue points, if those are getting in your way, just by clicking like that. And let's look at that again. And I also want to see if we can show you guys this in a render, and maybe it won't crash on us. So let's go into here. You also see down at the very bottom left, this thing auto-saves every 0.025 seconds. And that's because Clarisse can handle, like the project size of this is teeny. I think it's like a couple kilobytes or something. It's super small. So opening projects, it just has to load all the assets, and that's probably the thing that may take the longest. But once they're in there, it has no problem. Let me just save this. Clouds. Okay. So we have these clouds and we have those little ship things in here as well, which is kind of interesting. And let's see if we can render this thing out. So what we need to do to create a renderer is, and it'll show up over here, is we need to create first a ray trace. And then we also need to create a new image. So this is what you're going to be rendering to. So this image is going to be the thing that looks at our object. So I think we got to create a new layer. Okay, and let's see if I'm doing this correctly. It needs to be a background layer. So let's see, maybe it's a new 3D layer. Okay, there we go. I think it's a 3D layer. And we need to make sure we're setting up everything else in here. Is this the right layer? Let's double check, guys. This still may not be the right one. It needs to be a background layer. Canvas. So this is where you choose the dimensions. So we go in here. This is our ray tracer. So the image view is this, but it needs to have a background within this. One moment. Let's see, group path. Sorry, guys. Thought I had this thing. There's a way to do the new file image where you choose the renderer. Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. Having a little bit of a hiccup. Oh, here we go. My bad. All right. So it was the 3D layer. My mistake. I was doing it right, and I doubted. So in Rendering tab, you need to choose the renderer. So we just created that ray trace, so you got to click on that guy. But it also needs a camera. So we need to create, let's go back to our 3D view. Yeah, in 3D layer. And we can go up here and create a camera. And we'll just look through that camera perspective. And I'm going to go back into context. So in our 3D layer right here, so these are layers that you render out. So each of these would be rendered out, and this is where you create your AOVs. So it's totally a different way of thinking about it. So now we have a camera, we have the ray trace, and we have this background. So let's go to the image. So this is 3D view. Let's go to image view, and now you can see this thing rendering out. And my computer, hopefully you guys can see. Again, let me know if this is freezing on you guys, my stream. But there we go. So it's rendering. Boom. This resolution right now is super small, because if you go to your canvas, we are actually at 50% of 1280 by 720. But you can see, look how nicely this is rendering those volumes. So let's go back up to 100%, so this thing's a little bit bigger. And this is where where you mess with all of your render settings is back in this ray trace. So this is when you start debugging things and cleaning up, adding samples, all that fun stuff. And that's probably a whole nother lesson. So we're not going to go into that. But one really, really cool thing about this render engine is, so you'll see it does take a little bit longer, and again, it's going to take all my CPU power. So hopefully we don't crash. But the cool thing is, guys, is you can actually manipulate a lot with this thing. Like you can, like while this is rendering, let me just show you. While it's rendering, if it'll let me, because I'm doing a lot, you can still rotate and move things around. So see, I am in the render window, but I'm still I can move objects around, which I think is a huge advantage. And just something that's really intuitive, I think, for a lot of artists. Again, you would probably want to set up most of this in the 3D window and then kind of look at your render. But yeah. So I also think I rotated this the wrong way, and I think it needed to be, is it that way? Let's take a look. Oh wow, now these things are, I'm gonna add rotate. I'm gonna add 360 to all of this, and I also can zoom out. It's a little slow in here, so I'd recommend moving around in 3D so you can see how we can see how we did this. Let's see if I can zoom out. So there's our scattering, and let me move this down so we can see some of those objects in there as well. Okay, let's go back to our image view and hit render. We didn't put any materials on those little things down there, but it's pretty rad that you can scatter volumes like this, and I think get a really nice result incredibly fast. I'll open up a nuke project and show you guys what I created. But yeah, if you're doing like landscapes, a huge like cloud, you know, you have a camera move that's really large, and it flies down to something really detailed, this would definitely be the software to do something like that, like these really big shots. And again, the power of this thing is it's meant for compositing in the end. So there are so many different AOVs, and there's so many like things you can do in here, like that holdouts. And again, I'm gonna have to do a series on this. I can't just do one live stream about all the stuff you can do in here, because I think it would be too extensive and too long. But there are so many things you can do in each part of this program, so it's just really incredible. You can get some really nice results. I mean, my samples are relatively low right now, and I am already digging the look of these kind of dirty clouds. Definitely a cool look. And we did that with no problem, and there are hundreds of these things. So again, it's going to refine and it's going to slow things down. So I'm going to pause it because I don't want it to keep going. But if we let this keep going, it would look incredible. So something else that's really cool that you can do is you can create render groups and things like that. So if I wanted to render just one part of this, you can do that as well. So, which is a helpful little tool to have. Let's see if I can create one really quick. Call this render, and we'll just dive into this. And then you want to create let's see. I know we're going to need a combiner, and we'll also need a group, and this will be our render group. And we just would want to add the combiner in here. So what a combiner does is a combiner can take a bunch of objects. It's like how do I explain? It's like I can just add, you know, numerous objects in here just to look at. So if I just wanted to look at the models, or the actually let's not do the models. Let's remove that. Let's look at the scattered model. Okay, so right now, of course, we're in context, but when I render, I'll show you how we can just render this instead of this entire project. We can just render this group. So groups are helpful for that. So you want to create groups in order to render these out. So let's go into our ray trace, and we'd want to look at, or maybe it's our image. Yeah, I think that is the image then. Yes. Okay, so we want to come into our image right here, and they have this visibility tab, and right now it's saying use context or use current context. So it's going to render whatever our context is, but we can specify which one we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this dude, and I'm going to go into here, and you can just drag this little group that we created right in here, like so. So that's going to do the geometry, shadows, ray tracing, global illumination. And you could use matte objects as well, which maybe we could see if we could do the clouds as a matte object. Let's see if that'll work. Let's go over into our render view. So you can see the clouds are actually matting out everything. So we wouldn't want to do that. So let me just have none in there. And let's see why didn't that render. Let's see. It should be in there. Let's make sure we're doing this correctly. Combiner. I know if you do, I think, I can't remember there's a way to do that. All right. Let's figure out exactly what Aaron did wrong. Okay, go back into image view. That one should be rendering out our... not exactly sure why that's not working, guys. But you can do maybe just the combiner. Oh, there we go. Maybe you don't need to create that group. So you can just do... there we go. Sure, there's a way to do it the other way, but... yeah, I wanted to also see the scatter. Let's see if the scatter, okay, there we go. So now I chose the clouds as a matte object. So it's completely cutting out each of those objects and doing it that way. And the cool thing is you can make multiple 3D layers if you wanted to be able to do fun things like that. So super helpful when it comes to that. So that's awesome. Let me turn that back off so now you can see it like so. Oh boy. Oh, hopefully my computer didn't freeze. Okay. I'm going to turn everything back to the way it was. So by unselecting, just saying use current. But I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of the possibilities when using this kind of stuff. Really cool. And I think it's only going to get better from here. They're always adding new stuff and doing some really fun things. So the other thing I wanted to show you guys was some of the paint abilities in here. So let's go back into 3D land and let's maybe let's just go up into this model right here. And let's do a little some painting on this object. Hopefully I can remember exactly how to do this, but let's give it a shot. What you need to do is first, I don't think you can just do it like this. Yes, you need to go new, and then you need to go geometry, and I think it is the point cloud. we go. Let's click on this point cloud. And I'm trying to think how to make this thing paintbrush. Okay. Let's go right here. .3D view, shading. There we go. Okay. So I want to be able to paint scatter, I believe, on this object. And I'm trying to figure out exactly. I thought you just did a paint cloud. It's in the exclusion rule. Okay. Paint cloud. Those of you that know this, what am I? Do I just need to do container? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is another cool tool. So if you're wanting to, if we wanted to paint some stuff on a surface, like scatter a bunch of things on here, or if you have like some bushes or whatnot, you can use this thing, and it's super, super handy. So you can just paint a bunch of these, and I'm going to, and I think there's a way to make it so it sticks to the surface, and I have to remember exactly what it is. Is it a deformer? No. Either way, let's import some stuff to show you guys how this can be scattered on an object. So I'm going to open up the bridge really quick, and let's open up Quixel Bridge, and I'll show you guys how this thing can scatter, which is super cool. I'm going to import, I have these really cool assets. And again, when you're bringing these assets over, you have to use OBJs. So that's just something to remember. So let's maybe bring just this for fun. It makes no sense, but we're going to do it anyway. And I'm going to do a 2K. I'll leave it as is and hit export. And once I started up that, this is just like the other plugins we have, you know, for whatchamacallit, Houdini. All right, so we have this Jagged Rock. And let me just, so there's a Jagged Rock. It's really small compared to this thingy, this spaceship. So we may have to just scale this guy up. And I'm also going to keep my context in here just so I can see what, you know, scale I want this. All right, so we have this little thing, and we want to scatter it where we painted. Well, it's the exact same thing we kind of did before. And all you have to do is, now that we have this container with all those in it, we just have to paint. Use the paintbrush to paint them in there. But really quick, I wanted to go right here, I think to the tools. Let's see, where's that tool attribute? Two options. And I'm pretty sure there's a stamp. Yeah, there's stamp, airbrush, eraser. That's what I wanted to use because I saw some of these that got really far out of the where I wanted them to be. So yeah, you can erase all these if you have some that are in the way. But let's just say the spot we wanted, for some reason, these weird ridges in there. Let's do that. So we have a container, and we just need to create, again, another scatter. And you guys know this since we already have done this before, but let's just do it again. Go into the scattering, and this time we're going to choose, I believe, that container, and we're going to add that object right there. So now you can see we have all of these objects scattered on the side of this thing. And I think the reason why it's scattering like that is because of the normals. We, I believe, have to mess with the normals like that. And these are also too big. So we're going to scale these down. So there you go. Now we have these like little mountains on the side of that thing. And again, in the scattering options, we can offset some of this stuff as well. So if we're not super happy with maybe the way this thing's facing, you can just you can play with all these options in here. Let me go back to this, so I can zoom in here and just see, you know, what's going on with the scatter. Go back to 1 on that. Still looks like it's I think it's following the surface right now. Can't really tell. But anyway, you'd want to do some scattering variance with the rotation, obviously. So maybe just do this really quick. Scale variance. Let's just throw a little bit of scale variance in there. So now you have this like thing sitting on the side of that. And we did that relatively quick, which is kind of sweet. Let's look at the progressive window. And also brought in those, it brought in the textures as well from our project. So that's really helpful from Quixel. So it brings in all that stuff. Super helpful, but there you go. So the fun thing is you can just keep painting if you wanted to. So let's go back into the smooth shaded. And we could use that paintbrush again and paint more of this on there. So again, if you guys were doing environments and you created some cool trees or you had a path and you knew exactly where you'd want this to be, this is the way you'd want to do that. Is you could paint rocks in and fun things like that incredibly quickly. So there you go. That's how you do that. Is there any questions with this so far? I think I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I just wanted to show you guys the power of Clarisse, how awesome it is, how much fun it is. And I was going to show you guys before we go. Let's show you guys what I rendered out in. I did like a really quick composite in Nuke. I didn't even do any AOVs. I just did a beauty pass and started playing with some stuff in there. So I wanted to show you guys that really quickly. Yeah, what do you guys think of Clarisse? You guys should go give it a shot. There is a free PLE, Personal Learning Edition, which is really fun to use. So I would suggest giving it a shot. So I did this pretty quick. It's nothing too crazy, but I was kind of happy with the results. Let me turn off some of the grain and stuff. But yeah, this is a really quick image. I didn't turn up the resolution super high. This one, I think, was the one I showed you at the very beginning. It only had like 18 million, not even close. But these clouds right here are all one cloud. These are the same cloud, just scattered in different positions and change the scaling. I started adding these little like walks in here. And just some cool things really quickly, just kind of bashing. I was going to add a whole bunch of these like little bridges in between these rocks and maybe like some structures connected to the side of this thing and some like little, almost like it's like a little, I don't know, town that lives up in these massive mountains. Just was having fun with Clarisse. This is one of my first ones that I've done. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of this program. I'm going to actually probably be getting a new computer, one that can handle this stuff a little bit better. But what do you guys think of it? Do you think it's cool? Do you want to go play with it now? Is it seeming interesting to you guys? Let me know. I'm curious what you guys think of it. And let me know if you guys want to see more of these things where we talk about this kind of stuff. I mean, this scene has 76 billion polygons, and I think I decimated some of them, so they went away. But you can keep going. That number can keep going up and up and up and up. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. really curious, and feel free to share this video with any of your other VFX friends, get their thoughts on Clarisse as well. Again, I would suggest you guys head on over to their website, Isotropics. Yeah, and go try out their free version. It'll be watermarked, but it's totally worth it. Go give it a shot. Watch a couple tutorials. There's a really strong community on the Discord as well, so you can join the Discord, and maybe I'll leave a link for that in the description of this video on YouTube. But yeah, and you guys can go check out all the fun things people are doing in there. Let's see if I can pull up some showcase, some stuff that people have done. I'm gonna pause my render. Let's go, because I think this is also a really good way for you guys to kind of see what people are doing. A lot of the people use speed tree with this as well, by the way. So maybe the best things are on their website. Let's see. I know there's some good work in progress. Yeah, on their Discord, you'll see that there's people doing some cool things. Like you can do crowds. So if you're doing massive crowds, volumetrics, all these fun things. Again, I got to find where the showcase all their work is. But yeah, massive crowds, massive scenes. Let's go back to their website really quick before we end the stream and see if there was a made with Clarisse. Oh man, it just shows these. It doesn't even show like the breakdowns. But yeah, ton of movies, obviously. Anything with massive environments. I guaranteed Wakanda was all done. All these big cities and stuff. Dang it. I don't know where a good place is to show you guys all the stuff people are doing with it. Oh yeah, DNAG used it on the environments for Blade Runner. Anyway, guys, go check out their stuff. Go give it a shot. Go try it. It's awesome. I'm not sponsored by them. If I'm a fan of a product, I love sharing it. All right, I think that's gonna possibly be it for today. I don't know. If any of you guys have any questions, concerns, fun things like that, let me know. Shoot me an email. Love to hear from you guys. We're going to be, again, I'm doing these weekly. I'm going to be doing some weekly stuff, so maybe by next week I'll have some more insights on Clarisse. Let me know if you guys like this type of thing. I thought it was kind of fun. A little bit different than normal. All right, guys, any questions before we sign off? Don't forget to visit vfxcrashcourse.com, vfxcentral.com, all that fun stuff. Follow me on Instagram. I just posted a new image, so you guys should go check that out. Let me see if I can show you guys. Petey, do a quick hookup show of how to hook up Megascans. I did already, Petey. I already demonstrated that earlier. So, yeah, the Megascans thing is pretty quick, pretty easy. I showed you guys, so you guys know, but Petey did. You must have missed it. It's okay. I forgive you. Yeah, you can rewatch it when I show. But yeah, Clarisse is rad, and you guys should go give it a shot. All right, guys. I think. Sorry, Petey. I'm about to sign off, but thanks for joining when you did. All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in every week this time. So Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, we do VFX Live. We talk about VFX stuff. I show you guys cool VFX softwares and all that stuff. Today wasn't really a tutorial. It was much more me just kind of dinking around and showing you guys what's up. Cool. If you guys have suggestions on future live streams you'd like to see, maybe some different things. I know last 2 weeks we did compositing. And some of you said, "Oh, get back to the 3D stuff." So I've been playing Clarisse, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna show Clarisse off. As I get better over time, as I get better over time with Clarisse, we'll definitely show you guys more stuff with it, and I'll be posting on my Instagram some of the stuff I've done. Oh man, right when people are joining, I'm getting off. Dang it. Oh, you guys missed out on all the good stuff. You can rewatch this. I don't know if I'm not posting every live stream to YouTube. I may post this one. Ones that are more tutorial based, I think I do. I mean, this maybe could be considered a tutorial. But on Twitch, if you follow us on Twitch, those ones automatically are up, and then they will eventually go down, but you can rewatch it for a little bit of time. I think on Facebook as well, it'll be up on the Vfx Central Facebook, but so I may as well put them on Facebook or on YouTube. So yeah, we're about to jump off. We were talking about Clarisse. Go check it out. Any other suggestions as to what things you guys want to see in future live streams? I know 3D Coat one was pretty popular for a lot of you. Do you guys like doing the interviews with artists? Let me know. Just kind of the stuff you guys want to start seeing from these live streams. What's most helpful for you guys? Or should I do a little bit more like tutorials? And I need to start doing more recorded tutorials and posting them. I've just been a little busy. Yeah. Let me know. All right, guys. I'm sorry if you're just joining. I've been on for... How long have we been on for? Let me check. We've been on for like an hour. Yeah, we've been on for an hour. So it's time to start wrapping up. But thank you again for joining. Check out vfxcrashcourse.com if you want to learn how to do VFX, create visual effects from home, understand the visual effects workflow, all that fun stuff. If you want some cool stock effects, explosions, flares, vfxcentral.net, go check that out. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, vfx_central, and love to see what you guys are working on and stay connected and stuff like that. All right, guys. Thank you again for hanging out. We'll see you next week, 7 o'clock. So if that time is difficult for a lot of you people in the UK, let me know if earlier or whatever's better. I know it's like 3 a.m. for you guys, so I apologize. So let me know, and we will see you guys next week. Take care now.